Action.
As a young boy in post-independence Kenya, I used to be fascinated by a portrait that hung insecurely on the mud wall of our thatched house. Though I had not learned how to read and write, I kept staring indifferently at the inscription, wondering what it was all about. One day, I pleaded with my mother to read for me the message on the buffering depiction that was suspended by a nylon string, like a pendant, at times seesawing like a pendulum. It was written in capital letters. Christ is the head of this house, the unseen guest in every meal, the silent listener to every conversation. Since it was a single room, I, more often than not, stared at the fixated portrait. I remember one Sunday morning when Mom summoned me into the beloved hut, where she requested me to sit on a small wooden stool and that I pay attention. She keenly looked at the glaring expose that for the 10th time oscillated spasmodically as if to register its everlasting presence. Mom used a dry maize stalk to point at each word before endeavoring to read. She intermittently paused to let it sink and perhaps re-energize. I don't recall asking my mother questions or wanting to know the veiled meaning of the mysterious lettering. Mom had a special connection with the portrait. Whenever we relocated to a different mud house, she would wrap it carefully in an old piece of cloth that was seemingly kept for this purpose. In those days, we lived a Spartan life that was characterized by ceaseless movement. The first thing my mother did whenever we arrived in a new residence was to sweep the floor of the house. She would then carefully hang the sacrosanct portrait on its mud wall before reading us in an inordinately prolonged prayer, in which she routinely sought divine intervention from heaven. My mother had occasionally alluded that I was born when Kenya attained self-government, that on that particular moment, the Union Jack was lowered and that it was replaced by our national flag. She informed me that a man named Kisao Munyao scaled the Loke snow-capped Mount Kenya, where he hoisted a mast at its crest, flying the newly independent Kenya flag. Her off-the-cuff disclosure was, however, vehemently contested by my mostly absent father, who claimed to have aptly recorded my date of birth in an old hardcover notebook. I opted to believe my mom, though for no apparent reason. I don't recall a day when we celebrated my birthday, but I did so 5 decades later when Kenya celebrated 50th anniversary of independence from colonial rule. I was walking along Kenyatta Avenue in Nakuru town when I heard some fellows shouting inside a pub that was cherished Christianity no more solos. I entered to find out what was going on, only to bump into a group of splight revelers who told me that they were celebrating Freedom Day. This reminded me that I was an agent of Kenya's independence. I requested the Laukas, patrons, to keep quiet for a moment while beckoning to a young lady whom I later learned was a waitress at the pub. She hurriedly welcomed and ushered me towards a lone table that appeared dirty. "Today is my birthday," I quipped. "If you sing happy birthday for me, then we have a sweet deal." Several patrons stood and, with clumsy guidance from one of the ladies present, showered me with happy birthday praises. I tacitly ordered a beer for each of my new-found friends. The charming lady who hurriedly organized the singing, however, got an extra bottle. She thanked me for my magnanimity and helped the somnolent revelers toss their seemingly empty glasses and played that I live for 1,001 years. "You should always cultivate on verdant pastures," she said. I ordered for a soda that almost cascaded down my parched esophagus. I sipped the fizzling liquid quiescently as the patrons kept reminding me of my elusive birthday in a spirited bid to open my philanthropic sanctum. A fellow who was seated behind the counter called for attention. He then asked the revelers to get ready for a dancing competition to mark the D-Day. After several vernacular hits, I asked for "Hello, I Love You" by Chrysler Gale. Unable to resist the urge to dance, the lady who welcomed me immediately took to the floor. She swayed her plump bums with her malleable hips that gyrated like an inordinately oiled propeller shaft. She abruptly veered towards where I was seated and, without asking for permission, held my right hand. I hesitated for a moment and then involuntarily agreed to join in the jig. To the amazement of onlookers, we both locked and lolled together like Siamese twins. with my partner refusing to let go. Patrons went wild after the DJ without notice, gloating "It Must Be Love" by Don Williams, that was followed by, in quick succession, by a remix of Gypsy Woman and Ambanda by the same artist. A fellow who was sandwiched between two drunken women smugly requested for the Gambler, Island in the Stream and Coward of the Country by Ken Rogers. We all joined in the singing, with my partner staggering back towards where I was seated. She ingratiatingly embraced, hugged, and held me, albeit a bit tight. She calmly laid her afro-haired head on my protesting torso while caressing my chocolate chin. A young man who was in dreadlocks requested for Leggy Maestro Bob Marley's "One Love" that almost caused a stampede. Amid torrents of brouhaha, my partner then left me, wondering whether to prolong my stay or call it a day. She walked towards a customer who had just entered into the pub. I could not help admiring her flawless curvy flame and the disarming smile that left me drooling like a smitten lover. She was truly the archetypal African woman. I remember paying tribute to this black queen by scribbling a poem titled "Laptop." Daughter of my fox, before you I bow to empty my heart, to abandon the burden of endless sorrows. On your tender bosom I lay my head, I listen to the temple of rhymed heartbeat. I swim swiftly in sanitized water of open love. Your honeyed wine absorbs me, I smell the scent of your lips that surpass the fragrance of losses. In the sanctums of your hallowed embrace, I seek solace and true love, completely complaced in your curvy frame that fills the chalice of my vast desire. With all in one pleasure, I swallow my pride like swallows. I take off, I land on your laptop airport. I stretch and snooze in total ease of choice. In Sunshine Crescent, I sunbathe in high seas in calmative embrace. In your effervescent water, I swim swiftly in the seashore of assurance of your true love. I kowtow before you to behold the clique that feed our fox. I face Mount Kenya to pray to God to bless us and our beloved country Kenya. I sing for you a freedom song, Song of Solomon, for saving me from entrails of endless distress. A bowel of cheers receive for your benevolence, you who ushered me into the shrine of your main flame, the calvacious flame that revealed treasures therein, the laptop that invited me into the sanctuary of your feminineness. You are a lily in a Lego fairy in Rift Valley. Your dark skin sparkles like star on highways. Unlipsticked and skirts, you seemed splendid. Your sweet smile smells hope to the hopeless. In no more sorrows, you embraced me tenderly like a darling in a cradle. You signaled and welcomed me into the centrifugal of jollification. Dearest African woman, you are obliged I seek to rest my case, lest I sleep to sleep.
Okay.
It's long.